Assalamu alaikum students, this is Hassan Khan, your physics teacher, and today we are going to discuss past paper number 7 of AKU. So let's begin. MCQ number 1, which electromagnetic radiation is absorbed by colored compounds? So colored compounds basically absorbs visible light, and they reflect some of the light due to which the colors are seen. So that's why its answer should be MCQ number 1 आंसर इज ऑप्शन सी। विजिबल लाइट को जो वो एब्जॉर्ब करते हैं और थोड़ी सी जो लाइट होती है उसको जो वो रिफ्लेक्ट कर देते हैं, जिसकी वजह से हमें जो वो कलर नज़र आ रहे होते हैं। मूविंग ऑन टुवर्ड्स एमसीक्यू नंबर 2। सो एमसीक्यू नंबर 2 के अंदर कह रहे हैं द इमेज दैट इज़ फॉर्म्ड बाय द ऑब्जेक्ट हैज़ द फॉलोइंग कैरेक्टरिस्टिक्स। So first of all, if you analyze, this is a concave mirror which is a converging mirror that converges all of the light rays। और इसके अंदर जो इमेज होता है, इमेज तब बनता है जब when two or more light rays meet at a point. So the object is placed beyond the center of curvature. So one of the light ray, if you apply the rules of light passing through this concave mirror, सो जब भी लाइट रे पैरेलल होगी प्रिंसिपल एक्सिस के तो वो फोकस से पास करती है, और एक लाइट रे जो कि इंसिडेंट करती है पोल के ऊपर, वो जितने एंगल पे आई है उतने ही एंगल पे वापस जाती है। तो जहाँ पर ये लाइट रेज मीट कर रही हैं वहाँ पर इसका जो है वो इमेज बनेगा। सो द इमेज इज़ रियल एंड इन्वर्टेड। सो ऑप्शन डी इसका आंसर होगा। मूविंग ऑन टू एमसीक्यू नंबर 3, it says the diagram shows the arrangement of three small uniformly charged spheres A, B and C. There are three spheres. The arrows indicate the direction of the electrostatic forces. सो इलेक्ट्रोस्टैटिक फोर्स तब होती है जब स्फीयर्स के ऊपर जब वो कोई चार्ज हो। सो इफ़ आई टॉक अबाउट अ पॉजिटिव चार्ज, तो पॉजिटिव चार्ज से जो फोर्स होती है वो हमेशा अवे होती है, और नेगेटिव चार्ज की जो फोर्स होती है वो हमेशा टूवर्ड्स होती है। द पॉजिटिव चार्ज बिहेव्स एज अ फ़ैन, जैसे पंखे से हवा जो बाहर की तरफ निकल रही होती है, बिल्कुल इसी तरह जो पॉजिटिव चार्ज है वो बाहर की तरफ फोर्स अप्लाई कर रहा होता है। एंड द नेगेटिव चार्ज जो उसके ऊपर जो फोर्स होती है वो टूवर्ड्स होती है। ये वैक्यूम की तरह होता है, ये जो हर किसी को अट्रैक्ट करने की कोशिश करता है। सो द क्वेश्चन इज़ विच ऑफ द स्फीयर इफ़ एनी कुड बी नेगेटिवली चार्ज्ड। तो जब नेगेटिवली चार्ज होगा तो इसका मतलब वो टूवर्ड्स की तरफ फोर्स अप्लाई कर रहा होगा, और पॉजिटिव के लिए जो वो अवे होगी। सो इफ़ यू एनालाइज जो ए स्फीयर ए है, दिस शुड बी पॉजिटिवली चार्ज बिकॉज ये जो है वो अवे की तरफ फोर्स अप्लाई कर रहा है। इसी तरह जो स्फीयर बी है ये भी पॉजिटिव होना चाहिए क्योंकि इसकी जो ये फोर्स है वो भी अवे की तरफ है। सिमिलरली ये वाली जो फोर्स है ये भी अवे की तरफ है। सो इफ़ यू एनालाइज दिस डायग्राम, दे कैन नॉट बी इन दिस डायरेक्शन, दिस शुड बी ऑल्सो इन दिस डायरेक्शन। ये एरोज जो हैं वो गलत बने हुए। तो कोई भी जो स्फीयर है वो नेगेटिवली चार्ज नहीं होना चाहिए अकॉर्डिंग टू दिस कंडीशन। इट इज़ नॉट पॉसिबल कि किसी भी एक चार्ज स्फीयर से जो है वो एक एरो टूवर्ड्स हो, दूसरा एरो जो है वो अवे हो। दिस इज़ नॉट पॉसिबल। सो दैट्स वाई इट्स आंसर इज़ ऑप्शन डी, नो स्फीयर इज़ नेगेटिवली चार्ज। Moving on to MCQ number 4, it says in the given diagram, if no current flows through the galvanometer, then the value of a resistor P will be. So, no current flows through the galvanometer, that means a null deflection is obtained, then the ratio of the resistors are equal. That means I can write down that P upon R equals Q upon S. Q upon S. So upon substituting the values of the three resistors R, Q and S, I'll get the equation P upon 20 equals 10 upon 5. So 5 is 2 times 10, and when I send 20 there, it would get multiplied, so 22 times will become 40 ohms. So the answer of this question is 40 ohms. Moving on to MCQ number 5, it says that if Earth magnetic field line pass through a Hall probe in opposite direction, then change in reading of voltmeter is. So basically a Hall probe is used to measure the magnetic field based on the Hall effect. and is commonly called as Hall sensor. The method, the procedure, the process, the phenomena of induced magnetic field that is known as Hall effect. It is the part of the Hall probe is the part of the category of transducers that convert magnetic field to electric field, and the formula of the induced EMF is VBL. So the EMF induced, the EMF, sorry, it is EMF. The EMF induced is directly proportional to the magnetic field. सही है. सो पहले अगर मैग्नेटिक फील्ड एक डायरेक्शन में पास हो रही थी तो जो ईएमएफ इंड्यूस होगी, बिल्कुल सही है. बट अगर मैग्नेटिक फील्ड अपोजिट डायरेक्शन में चले, दैट मीन्स कि मैग्नेटिक फील्ड जो है वो ट्वाइस हो गई. तो अगर मैग्नेटिक फील्ड ट्वाइस हो जाएगी तो जो ईएमएफ है, वोल्ट मीटर की जो रीडिंग है वो भी ट्वाइस हो जाएगी. सो दैट्स वाई इसका आंसर होगा ऑप्शन बी, ट्वाइस Earth's magnetic flux density. Magnetic flux density, magnetic field intensity, magnetic field strength, magnetic field of induction, all of these are the same names of one of the physical quantity, that is magnetic field intensity. ठीक है. Moving on to MCQ number 6. It is one of the simplest question. It says Newton's second law of motion states that the acceleration of an object is dependent on the object's mass and the amount of force applied to the object. The table shows data from an investigation. Now if you analyze the table, when the force was 8 Newton, mass was 2 kilograms, acceleration was 4. If the mass is doubled, मास जो है वो 2 से 4 कर दिया, एंड द फोर्स रिमेन्स द सेम, देन द एक्सेलरेशन इज हाफ. फोर्स से जो एक्सेलरेशन 2 हो गई. एंड इफ द फोर्स इज डबल्ड कीपिंग द मास सेम, द एक्सेलरेशन इज ऑल्सो डबल्ड. सही ना. नाउ इफ यू रीड द स्टेटमेंट, विच स्टेटमेंट डिस्क्राइब्स द पैटर्न एस्टैब्लिश्ड इन द डेटा इंक्लूडिंग द चार्ट. So that means acceleration is directly proportional to force and is inversely proportional to the mass of the object. So a doubling of the force, if you double the force, the acceleration is also doubled. It says acceleration is 4 times, that means it is the wrong statement. Option B says doubling of the net force decreases acceleration. It is also not possible. Option C says doubling of the mass decreases the acceleration of the object by half. So it is the correct answer, because net force is constant. Upon increasing mass, the acceleration is decreased. The times the mass increases, the times the acceleration decreases. So if the mass is doubled, the acceleration is half. So option C is the correct answer. Moving on to MCQ number 7, it says fringe spacing can be increased by. So the formula for fringe spacing is it is represented by delta x, and the formula is lambda L upon D, where lambda is the wavelength, L is the distance between the slits and the screen, D is the slit separation basically. So that means I can write down fringe spacing is directly proportional to the wavelength. Upon increasing wavelength, fringe spacing increases. Option the first one is correct. If you see upon increasing length, the fringe spacing also increases. That means if you increase the distance between the slits and the screen, the wavelength increases. So this statement is also correct. And if you see the last one, fringe spacing is inversely related to the slit separation. That means if you decrease slit separation, the wavelength increases. So all of the options are correct. All of these is the answer of this question. Moving on to MCQ number 8, it says a ray is reflected on a plane mirror. The mirror is tilted by an angle theta. By what angle has the separation between the angle of incidence and angle of reflection is increased? So basically, if the mirror is placed vertically like this, so if the light rays are incident in this direction, तो अगर लाइट रेज डायरेक्शन के अंदर जो है वो स्ट्रेट इंसिडेंट करेगी, तो वो स्ट्रेट इसी तरीके से वापस जाएगी. बट व्हाट विल हैपन इफ़ यू टिल्ट द मिरर, अगर मिरर को जो थोड़ा सा टिल्ट कर दोगे तो क्या होगा? सो बेसिकली लाइट रेज जो है वो इस डायरेक्शन में मूव करेंगी। दैट मीन्स कि यहाँ पर जो है वो आपके पास एक एंगल बन रहा होगा। दिस एंगल इज़ बेसिकली द एंगल ऑफ दिस मिरर। सो इसका जो आंसर होगा थीटा प्लस थीटा, इट वुड बिकम 2 थीटा, ऑप्शन बी। Moving on to MCQ number 9, it says you are moving with velocity 20. The unit is missing here, it is 20 meters per second. You throw an object in the same direction with velocity of 4. What is its velocity with respect to you? So if you are moving with 20 meters per second, the object is also moving with the u with the 20 meters per second. The object is in the state of with respect to you. If you throw it with the velocity of 4 meters per second, अगर आप इसको 4 meters per second से थ्रो करोगे क्या होगा? तो इस ऑब्जेक्ट की वेलोसिटी आपकी वेलोसिटी से 4 meters per second ज़्यादा होगी। So the velocity of that object is 4 meters per second with respect to you. ठीक है ना? Moving on to MCQ number 10, it says question 10 about what is true during reflection. What is true during reflection? Snell's law is applied on refraction, not on reflection. So Snell's law is basically the first law of refraction. ठीक है ना? That it says the ratio of angle of incidence to angle of refraction is always constant, and which we called as refractive index. This was Snell's law. So Snell's law is applied for refraction, not for reflection. So the first one is neglected. Moving on to the second one is irradiance. Irradiance is basically power per unit area. Power per unit area, that means energy. If I substitute power, power is basically energy per unit time, और area जो वो as it is मौजूद है. So this is what we call as irradiance. So if you see, when a light is reflected, its energy decreases, its intensity decreases. So irradiance, power per unit area, cannot be same, cannot be constant. So the second one is also not correct. If you read the third one, the angle of reflection formula, the angle of reflection is equal to the angle of incidence. Yes, it is the correct statement. भाई लाइट जिस एंगल पे इंसिडेंट करेगी उसी एंगल के ऊपर जो है वो जाएगी. दिस इज बेसिकली द एंगल ऑफ इंसिडेंस एंड दिस इज बेसिकली द एंगल ऑफ रिफ्लेक्शन. सो ओनली द थर्ड वन इज करेक्ट. सो ऑप्शन सी इज इट्स आंसर. Moving on to MCQ number 11, it says there are two gases A and B placed with one another in two containers with conducting walls. Gas A is compressed, so its temperature rises, so it becomes hotter, and the other was expanded, hence its temperature decreases. So gas A is shows the rising temperature, and the temperature of gas B is decreased. So heat always flow from hot body to cold body. So in this case the heat will flow from gas A, which is hotter, to gas B, which is colder. So option A is its answer. Moving on towards MCQ number 12, it says a resistor of 2 ohms is connected in series. If I see a resistor of 2 ohms is connected in series with a combination of 2 resistors each of 3 ohms, with a combination of 2 resistors each of 3 ohms in parallel, so this would be the circuit diagram like this. See, they are then connected with the battery of voltage 10 volt. They are then connected with the battery of voltage 10 volt like this. What would be the potential drop on 2 ohm resistor? 2 ohm resistor के ऊपर यहाँ पर potential कितना drop होगा? That is what they are asking for. So they are connected in parallel. So parallel combination के लिए we can calculate the equivalent resistance. How both of them are same, each is of 3 ohms, so their equivalent would be equal to 3 by 2 ohms. So I can write down that they are equivalent 3 upon 2 ohms, because two resistors each of 3 ohms are connected in parallel. Now this parallel combination is connected with 2 ohm in series, so the equivalent can be calculated by simply taking the sum of both of these resistances like this. So the equivalent resistance will be equal to 2 plus 3 upon 2 ohms. So I can write down it as uh, 2 plus 3 upon 2 plus 3 upon 2 is basically 1.5. So 2 plus 1.5, it would become 3.5 ohms. This is the equivalent resistance. Okay, so I can calculate how much current is flowing in the circuit. I have equivalent resistance, I have voltage that is connected 10 volts. So I can apply the formula I is equals V upon R. So the voltage is 10 volts divided by 3.5 ohms. So I'll get the current in amperes. So this is the amount of current that is flowing from the battery, and that is also passing through this resistor whose resistance is of 2 ohms. So we can calculate the voltage of this resistor. How? V is equals I R. This is the resistance of that resistor, and the current is of 10 upon 3.5. Am I right? Now we have just to simplify this equation. If I cancel it using the multiple, they are the multiple of 5. So 5 is 2 times 10 and 5 is 7 times 35. So it would be 0.7 times 3.5. And 2 is 2 times 4, so I can write down 4 upon 0.7, and I can simply write it down as 40 divided by 7. So the voltage is 40 upon 7. 7 now if you analyze the multiple of 7, 7 is 5 times 35. So the answer should be 5 point something. It would be approximately equal to 5.5. So the voltage that comes out to be is 5.5 volts. So the answer of this question should be option B, none of these. Option B cannot be the answer because the voltage is not of 5 volts, it is greater than 5. So therefore it is option D, none of these. Moving on to MCQ number 13. It says transverse nature of light can be verified with the help of the process of polarization. Polarization is a process through which only a transverse wave can be polarized. In polarization, a two-dimensional vibrating light is converted into only in one dimension, so its intensity decreases. So only transverse waves show polarization, longitudinal waves cannot show polarization. So it is a process through which transverse nature can be identified. MCQ number 14. It says 3 resistors of 2 ohms, 5 ohms and 10 ohms are in parallel with a 9 volt battery. 9 volt battery के साथ जो वो इन 3 resistors को connect किया है. It says what is the potential difference in the second resistor. So if they are connected in parallel, that means they share equal potential difference. In parallel combination, potential remains the same. So therefore they are connected with the 9 volt battery, so the answer should be equal to option C, 9 volts. As simple as that. MCQ number 15. It says a device that stores energy in the form of magnetic field is basically an inductor. Inductor is a device that stores energy in the form of magnetic field. If you have studied AC through inductor, so if a current passes through the inductor, it produces magnetic field. and if you remove the battery from here, so the current would be available for a very small interval of time. So basically inductor is a device that stores energy in the form of magnetic field, and capacitor is a device that stores energy in the form of electric field. They both are active elements. So that's all for today. Thank you very much. Take care. Allah Hafiz.